Thanks very much for coming along. Really appreciate it. First of all, it's very nice to see so many people from so many different countries. This is super exciting. What we're going to do today is something pretty interesting. I'm going to ask the question: is AI the magic solution for language testing? And I'm going to start by asking you this question here. Does anyone know what a thermomix does? What is this machine and what does it do? Somebody said blend. Everybody, lots of people saying no idea. Somebody correctly said it cooks for you. So the idea of a Thermomix is this crazy machine. You go to the fridge, you get some vegetables, you get some rice, you get whatever you have, you put it in this machine, and apparently it makes meals for you. So this analogy that I'm going to use here is there a similar machine that we can use to create language tests? And the answer is kind of similar to a Thermomix, and I'll just give you the answer straight away. The answer is kind of, okay? What we really need to do when we're creating language tests is we need to use our brain, we need to use some tools, and yes, we can use a little bit of Gen AI to help us. And what we're going to do in this little tutorial is I'm going to get you, or you're going to watch me create a listening progress test, which you'll be able to use in your classroom. So I want this to be super practical. What I want you to be able to do at the end of this is actually go, I know how to create a valid, reliable, accurate, and fair, say, listening test. And the skills that we're going to learn, you'll be able to apply that to other types of tests that you can use in the classroom, okay? So just quickly, who am I? Well, I'm an English teacher. I was an English teacher. Then I became a test prep teacher. And after that, what I do is I work for Pearson in test design and product design. Okay, what are we going to do? So we're going to use our brains. We're going to do 6 things with our brain. We're going to choose a test type. We're going to choose a proficiency level. We're going to choose a testing objective, some vocabulary, some grammar. We're going to clone a listening task. That's using our brain. Then we're going to use Gen AI. We're going to generate some images, a transcript. We're going to check and grade the level of that transcript. Then we're going to generate some audio file for it. And we're going to trial our little test. So the Gen AI that we're going to use today, or that you're going to learn to use, will be DALL-E, ChatGPT 4, and 11 Labs. And the good news is each of these tools that I'm going to show you is free of charge. And the tool that I'm going to be talking about a lot, called the GSE Teacher Toolkit, is also free, okay? So you guys can use this stuff without cost. So step 1, we're going to use our human brain, and I'm going to choose a test type. Now, when it comes to language testing, there are 4 main test types, right? Do you know which is which? Do you know what a placement test is? Do you know what a diagnostic test is? Do you understand what a proficiency test is and a progress test? Well, let me give you a little quiz. Let's do this pretty quickly. Here's a little quiz to get you started. I want you to match the placement, diagnostic, proficiency, and progress test to the definition. So is it 1A, 1B, 1C, or 1D, etc.? I'll give you 1 minute to do this. Okay, looks like lots of answers are coming through now, which is nice. Somebody said 3D. Let me check that. Not quite right. 1D seems to be coming along quite well. Yes, 1D looks good. Somebody's saying 2A. I've just got to let my dog out. It's good timing. He's in my room. Okay, let's have a look at the answers here. So a placement test, 1D, is used to put students in the right group or class, right? You place them. 2A is the diagnostic test. It shows the strengths and weaknesses of various skills. Then we have proficiency tests, which see if students are ready for real world language use, like say university or work. Then we have progress tests, where we see if students have learned what you taught them. What we're going to do today is build a progress test. So that was step 1. We choose the type of test that we're going to build. We're going to build a progress test. Now we move to step 2 with our human brain. We're going to choose a proficiency level. So you've probably seen something like this before, and you're probably well aware of the levels of the students that you teach in your class. But we want to be very precise in the proficiency level that we choose, right? What we're going to do together today is focus on A2 or the GCSE 30 to 36. And you can also call these students elementary level students. So that's what we're going to do today. I have no idea the level of students that you teach, though. Maybe you could pop that into the chat. Do you teach high level students, low level students? Do you teach a range of students? It's super important to make sure that our tests are precise at a specific proficiency level. Okay, that was easy. Okay, step 3. We need to choose a testing objective. This is where it gets a little bit more complicated. So I need you to pay attention. This is the first time I'm going to show you a very cool tool by Pearson called the GCSE Teacher Toolkit. It looks like this. If you go to Google, type in GCSE Teacher Toolkit, you'll see this strange looking machine here. The first thing that I'm going to do is I need to choose a learning objective. All right, the thing with teaching English, of course, is that it's big and it's messy and it's complicated and it's confusing. And where do you start in this whole big swamp of English? Well, the thing that this tool does, the GCSE Teacher Toolkit, it makes it very precise. So check this out. What I do is I'm firstly going to specify my proficiency level rather. So I'm going to choose A2, okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my learners. I can do academic or adult or professional, but I'm going to choose young learners. And the skill, listening, reading, speaking, writing, I'm going to choose listening. And then I'm going to click show results. And what's going to happen is I'm going to see a big list of results there of learning objectives. I'm going to take a closer look at this in a second, but just before we go on, so my tags for the GCSE Teacher Toolkit were A2, GCSE 30 to 36. I chose young learners and I chose listening. And what I'm showing here is a bunch of learning objectives at this specific level for this specific skill of listening. So if you look at the top one, can follow an animated cartoon of a familiar type if provided with written support. Or number 2, can identify people in their immediate surroundings or in pictures from a short, simple description, etc. Now, the specific learning objective, which I'm going to turn into a testing objective, is this. This is what we're going to focus on today. Can understand basic information about common jobs if spoken slowly and clearly and supported by pictures. So this is a perfect kind of level, a perfect kind of skill for our A2 level learners, talking about jobs, occupations, what somebody does, okay? So that was a good step there. Next step, step 4, we need some vocabulary. Remember that Thermomix when you chop up the vegetables and you put it in, you click the button, you hope a meal comes out? Well, it's kind of similar here. We need to put in some vocabulary. And again, this is the question, what vocabulary do you use? Because we know that there's high frequency vocabulary that's good for low level learners. And we know that there's low frequency vocabulary, which is good for high level learners. But we need to be very specific with the vocabulary that we choose for our listening test. So I'm going to use this machine again, this GCSE Teacher Toolkit. And what I'm going to do again is I'm going to specify the range. So I'm going to go A2. I'm going to choose my learner here, again, young learners. I'm going to choose a topic. So you can see all the list of the different topics here. And I'm going to choose jobs. And I'm just going to click choose there. I'm going to click a grammatical category. This is really important for my vocabulary. I just want nouns. And then I'm going to click show results, okay? And the results I get, I'm going to skip that. The results I get are farmer, actor, dancer, chef, builder, dentist, and waiter, and the list goes on. But these are the specific jobs or occupations at that A2 level, the specific vocabulary that I need for my listening test. And just a hint here, for the lower levels, when you're testing them, you just want to focus on nouns, verbs, and adjectives. We don't want to be testing crazy stuff like prepositions just yet or articles. They're probably not ready for that. So if I go back a step here, the tags for the GSE Teacher Toolkit were the level 30 to 36, A2, young learners, jobs, and nouns. So I've got my vocabulary: dancer, builder, and waiter. These are going to become the answer options that we're going to then build a transcript. We're going to generate images. We're going to build this entire test around this, okay? But we've got to push on. So now that we've got the vocabulary, we also need to specify the grammar for our A2 level students, okay? So I go back to my GSE Teacher Toolkit. Again, I specify the range. I'm going to go A2. I choose my grammatical category now. Now, I think the most important thing here are verbs. Verbs are really complicated in English. So I just want to make them nice and simple. So I choose tense, and then I'm going to show results. Now, I'm not happy there because there's only 9 results, and I'm going to extend the range from absolute beginner up to A2, GSE 36, and now I've got 16 different results. And I've got a really good result here, which is can use the present simple to refer to daily routines. Let's have a closer look at that. So this is the verb tense that I want to use, the present simple, in this way that it can refer to daily routines. I'm sure you've seen this. I'm sure you've taught this. This is kind of perfect for the type of test that I want to build using those job words. Like, what did I have? Dancer, builder, and waiter, coupled with the verb, the present simple verb to refer to daily routines. You can see what we're doing. We're putting together a very nice, valid little listening test. So what are our ingredients so far? Well, we've put in the level, we've put in our testing objective, we've put in our vocabulary, and we've put in our grammar. Awesome. So to go back a step or to look at it again, we've got we're building a progress test for listening, where the objective is that our students can understand basic information about common jobs if spoken slowly and clearly and supported by pictures. We've got words related to jobs like builder, dancer, and waiter. And we've got the present simple to refer to daily routines. Awesome. We're putting it all together. This is great. So let's push on. This is where it gets a little bit more complicated. So I need you to pay close attention here. One of the things that we don't want to do when we're building language tests is just try to come up with language tests ourselves. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. Language tests are really difficult to create. Trust me, I've been doing it for a while now. And what we want to do instead is we want to clone other language tests, and specifically the tasks within the test. It's much better to clone a task than try to develop a task yourself. So let's think about how to clone a listening task. For example, here are some, this is from the PTE general test at the A2 level. And we can see some tasks that we've probably seen before. We've got multiple choice with images, which is one of my favorites. I love this task. What else we got? We've got form completion, where somebody listens to a passage and they fill out a form. We've got a gap fill activity. We've got some write from dictation, etc. I'm sure you know lots of different listening tasks, and perhaps you can go and look at other tests from, say, Cambridge University or ETS or whatever at that A2 level, and you'll get some inspiration for some excellent listening tasks. But what I would encourage you to do, especially people who might have an interest in language testing, is that I would encourage you to start to read what's called the test specifications, or what we call test specs. And so for the Pearson General English Test, for example, you can find these on the internet, these test specs. Let's take a closer look at them. So what are we looking at here? Well, we're looking at section 1 of the listening test. The skill is listening. The item type is, the first one is a 3-option, multiple choice, A1 and level 1 graphical options. Okay, so it has images. Now you can see here level A1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can see that those objectives are split into two. You can see that the first three levels assess the student's ability to understand the gist of short spoken utterances. And you can see that the second level, 3, 4, and 5, assess the student's ability to understand the main detail in short spoken utterances, and there's score points of 10. So, what's going on here? Well, listening is a complicated skill that we can break down into specific sub skills, some of which are easier and some of which are harder. Now, of course, if we're building a test for A2 GSE 36 level students, we don't want to get them to do crazy things like listen for inference or maybe specific details, etc. We want to do some really basic listening skills. So, what test specifications are? They're a description of the test in detail. And if you're a bit of a language geek like me, you'll probably enjoy reading them. You'll learn a lot from them. Okay, you can notice a lot from them. Okay, before I actually give you a little sample question, I want to ask you a question. You put something into the chat here. What do you notice about the images here? What do you notice about the question prompt? Does anything come to mind? You know, if you're analyzing this, if you're going to build one that's similar, okay, somebody said the same person. Good. So we know it's about the same person. There's a contraction in the question prompt. Well done. It's where's Sally, not where is Sally. Good. Somebody has said habits and routines. Well, yeah, what's she doing? It looks like she's reading. Looks like she's on a computer or iPad or something. Awesome. Somebody's talking about the vocabulary about related to the house. Exactly. There might be prepositions of place. Nice work. Nice work. There's lots to notice here. And when you write good quality tests, you have to be so careful with every decision you make. So even the images that you choose, they have to be kind of perfect. And we're going to get there when we talk about when we start to use Gen AI. But let's do a little practice test just for fun. The audio here won't be great, but I want you to tell me what the answer is. Listen carefully. Is it A, B, or C?
Number 2. Listen to the conversation. Where's Sally?
Do you know where Sally is? She isn't in the garden now.
I think she's in the kitchen.
Wait, I can hear her. She's in her bedroom. I can hear music upstairs.
All right. How did you go? Was that easy? Hopefully that was, it looks like almost everybody's getting the right answer there. So let's take a closer look at this. Let's look at the transcript. So, what did you notice about the transcript there? Before I say anything, just pop it into the chat. What did you notice about the way it was spoken, the type of language? Okay, somebody said all three places were mentioned. That's very, that's well observed. They're called distractors, exactly. So every place was mentioned. It wasn't just one place. That'd be too easy, right? It was also very slow and simple language. There was a negative in there. She isn't in the garden now. Correct. Nice. And there's just two clear, distinct voices, right? There was a man's voice and a woman's voice. And there was also the narrator's voice as well at the start. Where's Sally? Nice. Again, there's lots to learn. So when you start to develop tests for your classroom, maybe you're already doing it, you start to pay closer and closer attention to everything that you see on the test, including the transcript. Transcripts are fascinating because they contain all the language that you need in order to be able to do the test, but also the transcript becomes a fantastic tool to teach with as well. This is what I love about language tests. They're not just for testing. I think language tests are an excellent way to actually teach. You know, you do the pre-teaching, you give the test, And what I've noticed about my students is they're very interested in whether they got the answer right or wrong. And if they get the question wrong, they're very interested to understand why. And that's when you can look closely at, say, the transcript and look at all the language within it. Okay. Now, we've got 5 more steps. We've used our human brain so far to choose a test type. We chose a progress test. We chose a proficiency level. We chose a testing objective. We chose the vocab, the grammar, and then we cloned a listening task. So we're going to actually build one of those little multiple choices with the 3 images, right? And we use the GSE Teacher Toolkit for that. Next, we're going to use generative AI. This is where it starts to get pretty fun, but you've seen how much human brain is needed. When we use Gen AI, we're going to generate some images. We're going to generate a transcript. We're going to check and grade the level. This is so important. I'll talk to you about that. And we're also going to generate the audio file. Lastly, we're going to trial the test, and we're going to use these tools here. Okay. Gen AI, step 1, we need to generate some images with DALL-E. So we want answer options, right? We want a picture of a builder, we want a picture of a dancer, and we want a picture of a waiter. Just out of curiosity, who has used, say, Gen AI, one of these Midjourney or DALL-E to create images? Who has done that before? Okay, some people are saying never. Some people are saying yes. Some people are saying Canva. Does Canva have generative AI for images? Probably does. Awesome. Some people are completely new to this. Okay, good. We've got a mix. So, actually, let me just say, it's really simple. All you need to do is find ChatGPT. Just go to Google, type in ChatGPT. There's the link. You probably need to sign up to it. I think you do. And even for the free version of ChatGPT, ChatGPT 4, you can generate images. And you simply use what's called a prompt. You simply ask ChatGPT to do something like generate me an image of whatever. Do you know the good thing about prompting, or the interesting thing about prompting? Some of the best prompters in the world are teachers. Teachers are extremely good at prompting because we're extremely good at asking questions. And that's effectively what you're doing when you're prompting Gen AI. So here's my first example of this. I went to ChatGPT, which is DALL-E, it's the same thing. And I asked it a very simple prompt. I just said, generate me an icon image of a builder. Do you see any images? Do you see any issues with this? It's not bad. It's not a bad picture. But for me, I didn't really like the fact that there was somebody said it's not real. I wanted an icon, actually. Yes, somebody said the tools are inappropriate. I agree. If I want a builder, I don't want my builder to look like a mechanic, right? These are the sorts of decisions that we need to make. So I went back to ChatGPT and I said, try again, but remove the spanner. Make the hammer prominent. You see, if I want to create an icon of a builder, what's the most iconic thing a builder has? It's a hammer. It's not a spanner or something like that. I don't want to confuse my students, right? So I've got this one and I like it. It's pretty good. We're going to keep that one. That's not a bad picture of a builder. Yes, he's wearing a helmet, which is a bit weird. Okay. Then I went back to ChatGPT or DALL-E and I said, generate me an icon of a dancer. Now, any issues with this? Bear in mind that I'm going to be using a male voice. I'm going to be using a male voice. So what's going on here? This is going to be a bit problematic because the audio that I'm going to generate, when we create an audio, I'm going to choose a male voice because I've got a builder. What have I got? A dancer and a waiter. I want them all to be male. ChatGPT or DALL-E generated me an image of a female dancer. I mean, that's fine. I didn't specify. So I went back and then it generated me this icon. Can you guys see any issues with this icon? Somebody said it's creepy. Yeah, somebody said he's naked. Okay, you need to be a bit careful, especially if you're teaching like teenagers, right? You don't want to put something like this in the classroom. Can you imagine? They'd all be laughing. It wouldn't be funny. It'd be actually pretty terrible. So we need to improve our prompt here. Okay, so I said try again, but make sure he has clothes on. So this is my image of a dancer, and I'm pretty happy with this one. It's not bad. Then I went back and I said, generate me an icon of a waiter. And for this one, I'm pretty happy with. And so what I've got is 3 good icons. What do you guys think of this so far? What do you think of my answer options for builder, dancer, and waiter? Can you see any problems? People are saying great, and I completely agree. I think they're perfect. They're absolutely perfect. You know, if I had to go on the internet to find these icons using Google, it'd be an absolute nightmare, right? I mean, I probably could, but then they'd have watermarks and it's probably copyrighted and who knows what. And there's no way in hell that I could possibly draw anything like this. And if I did, it would take me 2 days. It took me like 20 seconds to generate these images using DALL-E. Cool. So we've generated images. Now we're going to do something a little bit more complicated, and probably the most important thing that we're going to do for our test, which is generate a transcript with ChatGPT 4. Okay. So we need a passage. We need the audio to say something, right? So my task is this, and let's just sort of see if you can do this. Maybe try it. Here's my prompt for you using your human brain. I want you to write a very short paragraph of text where you allude to being a waiter without saying the word waiter. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want you to explicitly say I'm a waiter, because that would give away the answer. I want you to talk about things that waiters do, their daily routines using the present simple, right? So talk about what you do in your job. Keep the language very simple. See how you go. Yeah, somebody said I serve food to customers. I serve clients in a restaurant. I love serving customers. So yeah, you can see that this is good. Some people are putting some good stuff in the chat. People are coming up with words related to the waiter and what the waiter does, where the waiter works, etc. This is the kind of language that we want our students to be listening to. But what you may have noticed, using your human brain to do this, it's possible. And if you do it, it'll be a good workout for your brain, but it's kind of complicated. So I'm going to go to Gen AI, ChatGPT 4. It's completely free. And I'm going to put in that exact same prompt. I want you to write a very short paragraph of text where you allude to being a waiter without saying the word waiter. Talk about what you do in your job. Keep the language very simple. So that's what I did. I went to ChatGPT and I put it in. And it said this: in my job, I greet guests with a smile and lead them to their tables, ensuring they feel welcome and comfortable. I take orders, offer recommendations, and serve food and drinks with care. Throughout the meal, I check in to make sure everything meets their expectations, aiming to provide a memorable dining experience. What do you guys notice about this transcript? What do you notice about this transcript? Good and bad. Yes, yes. Lots of people have noticed that the level is way too high. Natalie said it's too long and it's B2. That's good. If you can look at a transcript and just note its difficulty level, well done. All right, I need to scroll my chat down to the bottom. I totally agree. I saw this. I asked ChatGPT to make the transcript simple and it's come up with this, and it's way too complicated, but I'm not entirely sure of its specific levels. So what level is this and how can we actually tell? Because I want to make a test for A2 level learners. So what I do is I go to step 3. This is not Gen AI. This is the teacher toolkit, the GSE teacher toolkit. I'm going to go and I'm going to check the level of that transcript. So what I do is I go back here and you can see the tabs up the top. I'm on the text analyzer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste this into the text analyzer. I'm going to click analyze my text, and this amazing machine in just a few seconds is going to tell me something very interesting. It's going to tell me the specific level of this text. Can you see up the top there? You can see the word waiter right at the top. That's what I called this text. You can see GSE level 62 to 66. You can see CFR level B2. So Natalie actually got it correct. This is a B2 level text. The word count is 53. There are 3 sentences. Okay? And there's even a word highlighted in yellow there that is above the B2 level. This tool is your new best friend. Let's continue to explore it a bit more because we've still got a problem. We need to go back to step 2. We need to regenerate the transcript, right? We need to see if ChatGPT can actually make that transcript simpler because my A2 level students would never understand that. So I go back to ChatGPT and I say, look, please keep the content, but rewrite the sentences using more high frequency, simpler vocabulary. And it comes back with, I meet guests with a smile and show them to their tables, making sure they're happy and settled. I take their orders, suggest good choices, and bring food and drinks carefully. I keep checking to see if they need anything, trying to make their visit enjoyable. Any thoughts on this transcript? What are your thoughts on this transcript? Who thinks that better. Somebody said fabulous. Somebody said the word enjoyable is too high. You guys are smart. You guys have like an intuition of how difficult or easy a text is. And this is a great thing to do as a teacher. But sometimes our intuitions can be, well, incorrect. And we can certainly train our intuitions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that transcript. I'm going to go back to the GSE Teacher Toolkit. I'm going to paste it in. And what I'm going to notice is, can you see? GSE level 41 to 45, CFR level B1, 46 words, 3 sentences. And somebody said that exactly in the chat. The word enjoyable is even higher than B1. Carefully suggest and trying are all probably B2 level words. I've got another problem. I've still got a problem. The transcript is still too challenging. So this is where the human brain comes in. And what we're going to do is we're going to use our brains and the tool and the Gen AI, and that's how we make a beautiful language test. Put simply, ChatGPT is absolutely brilliant, but it is not very good at writing text down to a very low level. It basically can't do it. I can't get it to do it. Even if you ask it to write at a CFR A2 or whatever, it just doesn't do it. It just writes at a higher level, right? I mean, that's good. If you're creating a language test for B2, B2 plus, it was C1. I mean, you've got a great machine on your hands, but for the lower level, we're going to have to use our brains. So I've got a nice task for you, a good challenging task for English teachers. What I want you to do is take ChatGPT's paragraph there, the transcript. I want you to rewrite it, keep every sentence and rewrite it as simply as you possibly can, okay, for your A2 level elementary learners. I'm going to give you a minute or two to do this. So you can't hear me because I want you to try and write this. All right, you guys are awesome. I'm going to read one. Lucy says, I meet guests and help them find their tables. I make sure they're happy. I take their orders and suggest food. I bring food and drinks. If they need anything, I help them. Nice. I reckon that would be very close to A2. Hanan says, I smile at guests and guide them to their tables. Is guide a good word for A2? It's still probably too high. I make sure they are happy and comfortable. I say hello to people and take them to a table and make sure they are happy. I ask them what they want to eat and drink. That's nice. Nice work. I bring food to people and make sure I think you guys have have got this. And I think the point is somebody was saying that you use a different GPT like Claude or Gemini, etc. But look, at the end of the day, this is the nature of building these language tests. You have to use a bit of your brain. So I think you've got it though. Some people have written some really nice paragraphs or transcripts. So I'll show you mine using my brain. I said, I meet people inside a restaurant and show them to their tables. I write down their orders and bring them food and drinks. I ask them if they need anything else. I hope they leave happy and full. In other words, what I've done is I've used very simple waiter words, right? I don't want to say the word waiter because that would give away the answer. So I use the words like people, restaurant, table, write down orders. There's a nice phrasal verb, write down orders, food and drinks, and full. All of these relate to the word waiter. And if I take my transcript and punch it into the text analyzer again, I can see that I've written it at the A2 level. So that's awesome. There are a few words there that are above the A2 level, but overall it's pretty good. All right, so let's do a little sort of academic exercise here. So my objective was to test my students whether they can understand basic information about common jobs if spoken slowly and clearly and supported by pictures. And I wanted to use a vocabulary, words related to jobs, like words related to the job of a waiter. And I wanted to use the present simple to refer to daily routines. So take a look at that transcript and tell me, is this a good example? Have I done my job here as a test developer? Yeah, it's awesome, right? This is awesome. Again, what I said at the start is we're trying to make a valid test. And I want to talk to you about validity, which is a pretty crazy concept. And what that means, I'll talk to you about that at the end. But so far, so good. I'm really happy with this. We've taken it very slowly. We've done it very carefully, and we're nailing it. So we've got the transcript. Now I want to generate some audio files with 11 Labs. I don't know if you've used this website before. There are a bunch of different, they're called text-to-speech websites. 11 Labs, don't get me to think about the other ones. I've totally forgotten. I'm sure Google has one, Amazon has one. There are other ones. I can't remember the names of them. Just type in text-to-speech. There are like a dozen. Anyway, 11 Labs, I think, is the best. The voice quality is almost or maybe indistinguishable from a human. It just sounds like a person speaking. It's incredible, right? So this is what it looks like when you log into 11 Labs and you copy and you paste your transcript, which you've just created. And you probably can't see that very clearly. I apologize, but you click the button that says generate speech, right? Now I'm going to play the audio. Tell me, what do you notice about the audio? Listen carefully.
I meet people inside a restaurant and show them to their tables. I write down their orders and bring them food and drinks. I ask them if they need anything else. I hope they leave happy and full.
Nice. So what are your thoughts on that? Okay, yeah, nice. American accent, definitely. Too fast. Almost everybody's saying too fast. I think that, okay, so let's deal with these one by one. Some people are saying no intonation, no emotion, no inflection. I didn't notice that. I thought it was quite good. In terms of the actual sort of features of speech, it sounded to me like kind of perfect. Okay, accent. I agree. I think we should be choosing a range of different accents in listening tests for our students. We want to have, say, Indian English or Singaporean English, or maybe even Mandarin English, which is somebody who speaks Mandarin speaking English, whatever. This is the reality of today. Everybody's speaking English in all sorts of beautiful accents. We want to include them in our language tests. I just chose this one because it was, I think it was part of the free package. The second thing that people noticed here was the speed. Now, if you remember, if we go back to our objective, we want our students to understand basic information about common jobs if spoken slowly. This was part of our objective here. And again, this is too fast.
I meet people inside a restaurant and show them to their tables. I write down their orders and bring them food and drinks. I ask them if they need anything else. I hope they leave happy and full.
Nice. So not bad, but too fast. I didn't include it in this presentation. There are websites where you can actually upload an audio file and slow it down. And in fact, I think on the paid subscription of 11 Labs, I don't work for 11 Labs, by the way, there is the possibility to slow down that speech and maybe even put gaps between each sentence. Remember, we're dealing with low-level students. We want to make this as fair as possible. And right now, that audio is a little bit too fast for my liking, but you get the idea. Let's push on. Okay, I've rushed through this. We're actually up to step 5, which is the final step. We need to trial our question. So when you create a question for a test or a test in full, you cannot use it, or you really should not use it without trialing it on other people first, okay? The best people to do this would be the teachers in your school, okay? The teachers in your class. Because what you'll find is you'll give them the test, you'll be super confident, you think, yes, this is a great test, this is a great question, try this out. They'll look at it, even before listening to the audio, they'll go, the answer's A. And you go, how do you know that? For some reason, they'll just know. Maybe not with this one, but with other ones. Or they'll look at it and they'll go, the answer's both A and B. And as you probably know as a teacher, one of the worst things that you can do is stand in front of your class and have that awful feeling of going, oh no, the answer's both A and B. And the students look up at you, they've lost trust, and your life is effectively over. We don't want to do that. We need to outsmart our students. And sometimes that's difficult. So what we need to do is trial our test items. So let's do that now. Bearing in mind that I agree the audio is too fast, but take a close look at this question. Who is speaking? Is it A, the builder, B, the dancer, or C, the waiter? Now listen to the audio.
I meet people inside a restaurant and show them to their tables. I write down their orders and bring them food and drinks. I ask them if they need anything else. I hope they leave happy and full.
So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Is that a nice question? How do we know if it's a good question? You know, let's examine that a little bit more, because I think that's the sort of level of detail that we want to get to as good teachers who test our students with good testing materials. We basically want to ask, is our question valid? And validity refers to the evidence that we have to suggest that our question is solid, that it's strong, that it's good. And there are different parts to validity. One of them, let's call accuracy. And that is how precisely are we measuring our students' ability to comprehend basic information about common jobs if spoken slowly and clearly and supported by pictures. So how would you rate the accuracy of this specific question type? I reckon it's perfect. We've thought very deeply about it. We've used the GSE. We've used the correct vocabulary, the correct grammar. We found a testing objective. It's on the right proficiency level. It is bang on. 2, is it reliable? Well, in order to test reliability, we'd need to create a bunch of similar questions, right, at the A2 level. And what we would need to do is give them to our students, and we would hope, or if it is reliable, our high-performing students who are at or above the A2 level would get it correct. They would answer all those questions correctly. And anyone maybe below the A2 level would not. Then we would know that we've got a reliable question, that it's actually consistently bringing in the right marks. Okay? That's part of validity. Number 3, is it fair? Is our question or is our test that we create fair? Is there anything discriminatory or poorly designed in that test? And I think right now we've got something a little bit unfair, and that is the audio is way too fast. Okay? I don't think that's fair, but imagine we did. Imagine we slowed it down. Then we could say we thought about that. We slowed the audio down. It's nice and slow. It's perfect for A2 levels, so it's fair. But fairness is something we need to think about. And finally, we need to think about, is our question or is our test explainable? What do I mean by that? I mean, if your boss or whoever's your principal of your school comes to you with your English test and says, "Hey, where did this come from, and how do you know it works? And what is the AI doing? How does the AI work?" We need to be able to explain to them every step of the process, which I've shown you here today. And so now we know that our test is explainable. And if we put all of these pieces of the puzzle together, what we have for our question, or if we have a series of questions, is we have a valid test. That's important stuff. Okay, let's recap what we've learned. And I've finished a little bit early, but that's cool. We have used our human brain to choose a test type. Remember, there are different test types. There was the proficiency test, the diagnostic test, the progress test, and the placement test. We understood the 4 different test types, and we went with a progress test for our classroom. We also chose a proficiency level. We looked at the CFR and the GSE and we went, right, we need to focus on A2. We also chose a testing objective. We used the GSE teacher toolkit. We chose a specific objective, and then we found the vocabulary and the grammar that matched it. Then what we did in part 6 of using our human brain, which was very important, we cloned a listening task. And this is just one of many different tasks that you can clone. If you want, what I suggest in your own spare time is try doing a form filling exercise with your students. It's awesome. Then we use Gen AI to generate images, build a transcript. We checked and graded the level of the transcript 3 times to make sure it was the A2 level. Then we generated the audio file. We trialed our test on our colleagues at school, and they said it was awesome. And that, my friends, is almost the end. Before I do that, I want to do a little plug. In the not too distant future, Pearson is going to deliver this awesome platform where English teachers can create lesson plans in minutes with the click of a button using Gen AI. The cool thing about this, you know that GSE teacher toolkit thing that I talked about before? That's kind of built into this. You know that sliding scale and you just click a few buttons? What this thing does, it's not released yet, but it's coming soon, is it's going to generate lesson plans with images, with audio, etc., that you can use in the classroom. So that's coming soon. Anyway, thank you very much. I'm going to stick around and answer some questions. You can find me on LinkedIn if you search Jarrad Merlo. And the last thing I'll say before I go to Q&A is you can get your certificate of attendance by filling out the short survey. The URL is in the chat now, so make sure you click that. And just as a reminder, to earn your Credly by Pearson badge, you'll need to complete the 5-part series and submit each post-webinar survey form. So the next one's coming up is a guy called Casper. Don't miss that. And then Ilya, don't miss that. You're going to learn a lot. Let me stick around and answer a few questions here. I'm going to use the Q&A. Okay, David's question. Can you choose nouns and other categories in the tool? Yeah, the GSE Teacher Toolkit, when you go into, say, choosing vocabulary, it's got all the parts of speech. It's just worth exploring it. I won't talk about it in detail now. I just go to Google, type in GSE Teacher Toolkit. It's friggin' awesome. Ali, could you explain how we design a needs analysis using Gen AI? Okay, I think the best thing to do there, Ali, I wouldn't use Gen AI to do a needs analysis. I mean, it's pretty good for very high level stuff. But if we want to get down into the details, which we did today, then I suggest the GSE Teacher Toolkit again. Okay, there's a question here about distractors. Now, our test didn't really use distractors, did it? We had the picture of the builder, the picture of the dancer, and the picture of the waiter. But all of the language related to the waiter. And that's because at the A2 level, we don't want to confuse our students, right? Learning another language is extremely challenging. At that low level, we want to build confidence. We want to test them and make it valid, but we don't want to make this entirely confusing. At higher levels, building in distractors is really cool. How can I talk about this? All right, you know the image that we saw before of the girl who was in her bedroom, and then she was in the garden, and then she was in the kitchen. And we noticed that in the transcript, the person or the 2 people speaking mentioned each of them, but there was only one answer. So that's an idea of distractors. Writing good distractors is an art form. You have to do it so subtly and beautifully, and it can't just say it's not this, etc. Anyway, maybe we can do another webinar at some point and look at that. Okay, I'm just searching through the Q&A. Here's a great question from Cassandra. Are there any copyright issues with generating and using these AI images I create? Look, you're pretty safe in the classroom. If you're going to be generating images and say selling them or creating course books or something like that, then possibly. I know that there's some lawsuits happening in the US. They don't worry about English teachers, trust me. They worry about big platform providers that are using this sort of stuff. So I think you're safe for now, unless you're planning on creating a multi-million-dollar business. Good question, though. Richer, can we generate listening tracks via ChatGPT? No, you need to use a separate text-to-speech. So my suggestion was 11 Labs, but there are a bunch of different other ones you can choose from. Okay. Matthias has got a good point. 11 Labs can't generate dialogues. Ooh, Matthias, I don't know about dialogues, actually. Actually, I do know this. In Friday's webinar with Ilya, he's going to be talking about creating dialogues. So make sure you attend that one. I'm pretty sure he told me that today. But yeah, today I had a monologue. It was one person speaking, dialogues with two people. What you need to do, again, is think very cleverly about the two different voices. The two different voices need to be distinct because the student or test taker is not going to see them. So male, female, or two different accents or two very distinctly different voices works really well. Cool, guys. I think that's it. Yeah, cool. I think that's it. Thanks very much for coming. It was an absolute privilege to teach you. As I said, I used to be an English teacher, so I know what you're up to in the classroom, or sort of. And hopefully you found my presentation helpful. Hopefully you got some practical takeaways from it. Hopefully I built your confidence in two things, really. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to build your confidence in test design from a theoretical point of view. I also wanted to build your confidence in using technology to build those tests. Okay, that was my point. Cool. Thanks very much. I'll see you soon.